Aloha and welcome to Java. This is for Monday, December 11th, 2023. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, and there is quite a bit going on this morning, so want to get right into this. Thank you all that stuck with me and watched my second video after they took my first one down yesterday. So the MMRI is just below 275. We are watching the relative strength of the dollar as well as the 10-year yield are both rising. As those two begin to rise at 104 and the 4.25, those do increase the volatility, which is the fear index, and will put pressure on stocks in general. So, with that happening, I do expect that we will watch the spot price of gold is fear trade. So, that should kind of start going in the positive direction as well. Futures in the red, saying there's a little bit of doubt in the market at this time. So, really, what we're watching today is that 10-year note auction. A lot of people are beginning to realize that we need to watch these debt sales basically and see what happens with them because they've not been selling very well. And that does have a definite effect on the markets. So, the Fed may have to step in and buy these again. We'll see what happens. So we've been talking about central banks and the relative currencies. The Japanese yen started dropping after Bank of Japan said that they were going to keep their negative rates this month. So they've got easy policy. And as I was saying yesterday, if other central banks either halt their hikes or even begin cutting their rates, then Bank of Japan will not have to do anything because their relative strength will rise. So with the banks, a little bit more about that. Uh, Everybody is still expecting the Federal Reserve to cut, but it looks like they might be reversing that stance a little bit today. They might come out hawkish. We've got a lot of things going on with the economy. Might show that they, depending on their actions, and we'll find out they meet on Wednesday. So this story kind of reflects what's actually going on that we've been talking about, despite them saying that our economy is very strong, is that more retirement savers are borrowing from their 401k, their pension plans, and these are basically, they're considered loans of last resort. You really lose quite a bit when you make these loans. They charge penalties, and it's not inexpensive money. But people are dipping into these because they have things they either need to pay off or things they need to pay for, and they no longer have the savings. So I wanted to bring this up because it says the dollar's days of serving as pure play on US rate expectations about to end because, as I was saying before, they're bracing for policy shifts from other major central banks. So all these currencies are devaluing themselves. So they're in a race to the bottom of who can lose the most value first, basically. And that's what is going on. The dollar is losing strength as the reserve currency. So we've got the euro area. They're finally admitting this out loud. They're suffering the first recession since the pandemic. So finally admitting that the numbers do show they are in a recession. Now it's just a question of how deep and how long these numbers go for. We've also got Chinese consumer price dropping. So now they're beginning to worry about deflation because when the economies go into deflation, it's much more difficult for the central banks to control. So as we were saying before, basically the cycle goes, it's high inflation, then deflation, severe deflation, and then it goes back into a cycle of hyperinflation afterwards, if history is any kind of guide. So I've got this story out from the World Gold Council saying countries are at their highest level of stockpiling gold ever. 40 tons more been adding to basically central banks and countries' reserves. So that tells you kind of what we should be doing. We've got oil prices steady. So the United States is trying to restock their petroleum reserves. So they've been buying. And we've got a couple of other oil stories because we've got, of course, the climate conference still going on. Oxy is going to buy Permian. They are a producer, Crown Rock. So that looks to be very positive for that stock today. We've also got South Africa has chosen Russia. So now Gazprombank is actually more liquid natural gas, but also as a refinery. So they are setting up their own, they've got their own refineries, everything. They don't need the United States any longer. And of course, we're trying to team up with Argentina as well as Venezuela and them taking Guyana right now. So we've got all of those resources that America is trying to get. So I just wanted to bring this up because this could have a very definite effect on not just prices, but also supply chain. That word is coming back into vogue as they cannot get through because the drought is cutting all ships, basically cutting this line almost completely. So any of your goods that come through this trade route, be people that shop at Walmart, a lot of the other larger things, and one of the more important issues that this is going to cause is this is peak grain export for the United States. So, for instance, corn, and we are already competing with Brazil. It's basically what they're getting at. So that's going to be a bit of a hurting for United States real GDP as far as agriculture. So we did see a drop in Bitcoin. So everybody's talking about how it had this huge plummet. Well, it dropped 7%, then went back to now it's less than 4%. They don't want you owning this stuff. So I believe they're trying to manipulate in off hours during very slow, low volume periods. So you can do a lot of selling all at once and it will drop that price. So basically scheming. And we've got this other convergent story that came out. So we're looking at where they are looking the anti-money laundering rules, AML. So they've got rules on cryptocurrency under the National Defense Bill. And the reason that is interesting is because being under the National Defense Bill, it allows them to put in higher controls and utilize other resources that they would not normally be able to use. So for instance, with cash, the US dollar, they're not subject to any of these controls that they're trying to do with cryptocurrency. And now keep in mind, they cannot control cryptocurrency, they cannot control Bitcoin directly. So they have to utilize exchanges, which are basically banks for cryptocurrency in order to enact and enforce these. So more with our trade war, talking about the drop in trade, 5% down. So I just told you when Bitcoin went down 4 to 7%, everybody kind of throwing panic in the air. And this is drop in global trade of 5%. And to me, that actually should be the panic. So all eyes on Asia's exports bounce back. So this is from all of Asia, Taiwan, which is powerhouse, as well as Vietnam. So they've got some exports going on, but where they're going, they're exporting mostly Russia, some US, South America. So we've got Vladimir Putin, visiting the Middle East this week. They're talking about why that's important. Well, uh, they're basically turning their backs on the United States because the United States has proven a very unreliable partner, to say the least. And so they're forging these new relationships. We've been speaking about the BRICS, and this is just they have become a main financial center in both the UAE and Saudi, basically Middle East area, becoming main financial hub, as well as tech industry, cryptocurrency, and Russia is full of resources, of course, so they're doing these trades. We've got the US approving this emergency arms sale to Israel. So tank ammunitions, and this just proves if you think that your vote counts, it really doesn't, because it doesn't matter what anybody says. They bypassed Congress, which if you vote is supposed to go through there anyway, and they did what they wanted to. So all in pushing forward to protecting their interests, they've got a lot of corruption that's going on there, of course, as well as other things. So they just bypassed the entire system and did what they wanted to do. Anyway, I got to watch what I say again. So we've got silver sat for big gains, did have a pullback, which in my opinion, ultimate buying opportunity. So they're talking about this, and I encourage stacking your precious metals. So we were talking about gold earlier, silver, and also your copper coated lead. Very pretty, very shiny. So to bring this up, because last time there was a bit of an issue and gunpowder became the shortage. But not just gunpowder, but also if you reload yourself, primers. Primers came into a shortage, especially for um, small primers. But anyway, so stock up on these types of things. Literally, keep your powder dry. So I've got one last lava update that I wanted to bring to you. If you haven't heard yet, Alex Jones, and if you don't know who he is, he's basically willing to say whatever it is, and he got deplatformed. He got silenced, bit of tape over his mouth, so to speak, and so now he is going back onto Twitter. So I don't know if you'll be interested or if you're on that platform, but I appreciate that there is somebody else taking the stand to say whatever they feel needs to be said that people need to know instead of having controlled speech. So again, my friends, I encourage live, trade, think outside their system. Until I see you again, stay free.